Hello everyone, it's Fine and Steady, and today I'm going to tell you how, as a teenager or a young adult, you can become an everyday millionaire. There's 8 steps to this, and I'm going to tell you why each one is important, what the habits or skills or actions you need to take are, and let's roll right into the first one. The first one is very simple. You need to get a bank account. Basically, everything in the world runs through a bank account nowadays. If you get a job, you'll get paid in your bank account. If you need to take out a loan, you'll have to pay that from a bank account. If you want to make a transfer to somebody, you need to do that from a bank account. So, step number 1 is to get a bank account, but it's not that easy. First thing you need to do is you need to do your research. You need to ask your friends and your family which bank accounts they're using, listen to them if they have any kind of negative experiences with them, and then cross that one off your list. And only after you do that, because customer service is number 1 when it comes to your money, number 1. Number 2, you go through the list and you look at which one offers the lowest fees for a current account. So an account where you have a debit card linked to it that you can use to pay and you can make transfers to. And once you've done that, you can move on to step number 2, which is to get a low limit credit card. Now, once again, you're going to want to look at all the credit cards that are available in your country, see if any of them have any rewards which makes sense for you, and then go for that one. But if you're outside of the United States, I'm going to tell you right now, most likely the rewards aren't worth it. But why do you need to get a credit card as the second thing? Well, everything in this economy nowadays is debt-based. So an essential skill to learn very early on is how to manage debt. So that's why I say get a low limit credit card, because if you do end up having an issue and you end up maxing that out, you should still be able to pay it off if you went with a low limit. If you got a high limit credit card, and trust me, just because they offer it to you or you're eligible for that high limit does not mean you can afford it, okay? And the same applies to any kind of loan that the banks are going to give you. Learn how to manage your debt responsibly, pay off that credit card in full every single month. See if you can start to develop the habit of learning how to manage a small amount of debt responsibly, and that's going to set you up later on, because first of all, the institutions are going to have a credit history on you and they're going to see, okay, this is someone reliable who knows how to manage it, and you're going to get a higher and higher credit score from that. And second of all, you yourself will feel confident saying, okay, I know that if I hit this limit, this is going to be an issue, but I also know that using a little bit of debt can be advantageous, and now that I know how to manage that properly, I can move on to taking out loans for bigger things in my life. Step number 3, and this might sound counterintuitive because of what I just said in number 2, but bear with me and listen to the end of this point. So step number 3 is to stay out of consumer debt, and what I mean with that is to stay out of any loans that make your life awful. If you have a high interest car loan, bad idea. If you have a high interest loan on anything, you didn't pay your credit card in full, and now they're charging you 24% annual interest, awful. You need to get those paid off as soon as possible, or never even put yourself in that situation in the first place. So only buy things that you can afford to pay in full for in the next month, or if it's a really emergency situation and you're 100% sure that you're going to get more money in the next couple of months, then you can use it as your really last line of defense, because that interest rate is going to eat you up. And later on, I'm going to talk about the types of loans that are good, but for ballpark estimate, anything which you have to pay back with an interest rate that's higher than 4 to 5% should really be your priority to get rid of that, or to never accept such a loan in the first place. That's why stay away from high interest auto loans. Make sure you pay your credit card on time every month, and don't buy that super expensive thing that you can only afford because of your credit card. Because remember, just because you're eligible for it doesn't mean you can't afford it. Let's move on to point number 4. Point number 4 is to get a job. Now, that might be a surprise to a lot of you guys, but the truth is that many people wait until they finish graduating university to get a job. And I think that that's fine, but the amount of skills and just general common sense and life experience you get from working a job, even if it's just a couple of hours a week, I think is going to serve you so much better later on. If anything, it's going to show you what you don't want to do, and that's just as valuable as knowing what you do want to do, because oftentimes people actually have no idea what they want to do, and the only way to learn that is to try a bunch of things. And if you say, okay, I tried this and I know for sure that's something I don't want to do, well, then you can move on and start looking for the things that you do want to do. It will also teach you how to manage a working relationship and how to act in a business environment, and as well show you sometimes that not every business environment is the same as another. So some environments might be really nice and great to work for, and you might also be able to identify a toxic work environment really quickly, even in the interview, so you don't even end up accepting that job. But this is only something that you can learn from experience. And as well, if you want to buy something extra or buy something nice, well, it's a great way as well to get some more money around. So that's why step number 4 is to get a job. Now, step number 5 comes right off the bat of that, and most companies offer some kind of compensation scheme. So if you say, okay, I want to put this much towards a retirement account, and basically every country has some form of this. So I don't know exactly what it's going to be called in your country, but just ask around, just have a look. I'm sure you'll know what it is anyway if you're actually working for a bit, if you listen to the HR presentations. And what it's basically going to be is they're going to say, okay, we're going to match up to like 2, 3, 4, 5, 7% of whatever you want to put into this retirement account every month. We're going to take from our own pocket and pay additionally into that account. Well, that's something that you absolutely need to start doing as early on as possible when compound interest is still in your favor. To give you an idea of just how powerful this is, let's say you put in $2,000 a year through this compensation scheme into that account. Well, when you retire, let's say you work for 40 years, that's going to end up being, let me flip you around because this number is going to absolutely blow your mind, $400,000, okay? If you put 2,000 every single year, that's going to end up with $400,000. And I bet that a lot of you watching can put in more than $2,000 per year into that account, especially when you consider that the employer is going to be matching it. So let's say you actually only put in 1,000 and your employer matches it by putting another 1,000 per year, so $2,000 per year in total, 1,000 from you, 1,000 from your employer. That turns into 400,000 in 40 years when you retire. And this is the graph of that. As you can see, because you started very early on, you gave compound interest a lot of time to start working. That's this red line here. And this green line is the actual finite amount of dollars that you put in. But the red one is your total future value, including all of your profits. As you can see, it grows exponentially. This is why it's so important to take advantage of those employee matching pension plans. So if you are just coming out of high school or in your final years of high school or even in your first years of university, I would say make sure to think about, hey, is what I'm spending actually going to get me a return on my money? This is very region dependent. In Europe, you can still find some really reasonably priced education where I would still say it's worth it for pretty much everyone to try to go to university. But there are other countries right now where it's becoming prohibitively expensive and people are going to have to carry that debt for the rest of their life just to go into university. And if you are in that situation, well, then I would say, hey, hold on. It's okay to take another year or two to work some other passive jobs on the side. Take your time to really think about, hey, this is what I want to do. This is not what I want to do. Do I really want to go into $200,000 of debt to do something that I don't even want to do? I reckon that if you put the question that way to most kids, they would really think twice about the career that they're about to go into in university. So really, really, really think about all aspects of it. First of all, what's actually the return on investment going to be of my degree? How expensive is it in the region that I am? And if I need to go into debt to follow this career, well, you either better really be sure that it's going to pay off for you in the long run, or number two, you better be sure that it's something you really, really want to do, because nowadays we live in a debt-based economy, but we also live in a skill-based economy where the people with the highest level of skill in any given field are earning orders and orders and orders of magnitude more than anybody else in those fields. It's not the same how it was many years ago, where pretty much coming out of university, you would earn more or less a really good wage and you would earn pretty much the same as everybody else around, meaning that everybody could afford more or less a decent standard of life. That's not the case anymore. Be careful. Make sure to do your research, especially on where you think you're going to end up going, meaning region wise, and as well how much it's going to cost you to acquire a certain skill through the university education system. Now, for most people, I would still say it's very, very worth it. And for most regions, it's still very affordable. This brings us now to the final point of the video, point number 8, 5 plus 3. Well, at this point, the last advice I have for you is to start investing early on. And it's not that difficult, really. People are overcomplicating investing, thinking that you need to learn how to pick individual stocks and put a bunch of money on Tesla and hope it goes to the moon. Well, no. If you're starting this early on, if you put money into just a standard S&P 500 index fund, which just tracks the 500 largest publicly listed companies in the United States, and you just consistently put money into that month after month after month, well, by the end of it, you're going to end up with a massive pool of money, which is going to secure you in the later years of your life. So that's all the investing advice that young people actually need to hear. Just consistently invest in a broad market index of the United States, and you're probably going to be absolutely fine. Don't worry about learning the specifics of investing beyond that, because that's a very deep topic. There's a lot of room for error. And if you want to go into that, well, I would say that you should really do your research first and not just kind of throw money in all directions, hoping something sticks, because it's a serious topic and it's something that one needs to take seriously. And if you just invest in index funds, you are very, very, very likely to outperform everyone else. Let me tell you a little story from Warren Buffett, one of the most well-known and most successful investors of all time. Well, he made a bet with a bunch of different hedge fund managers over a 10-year period, and he said, if you guys manage to outperform the S&P 500 over a 10-year period, I'm going to donate like $1 or $2 million to a charity of your choice. Well, a bunch of hedge fund managers took that bet because obviously there's no downside. Guess how many of them won? 0. So if the best hedge fund managers in the world can't beat the market, I would say that most other people also can't. Right? So bear that in mind. That's something that many people don't talk about. If you just invest consistently in a broad US index market fund, you're going to be more than fine in 40 years. So that's my advice on how to become an everyday millionaire and the skills that you need to start early on in order to get there consistently and safely without any trouble. Thank you guys for watching. If this was valuable information for you, or you learned something new and you got smarter, please, please, please smash that like button for me. And if you really want to see more content and I've earned a follow, well, go ahead and subscribe for more videos almost every day, like many times a week. I'm pushing these out. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.